Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. So excited to have you here. We have an amazing guest in the studio, but before we get to Kevin's episode, I got a special offer for you guys. There's an event happening this June I want to make you aware of. It's called Envision 2026, and it's brought to you by Advisor Consulting. Ken Thomas, Ben Gandy, and their entire team are hosting this event at Mole Halls Landscaping in Omaha, Nebraska. Again, that's June 23rd through the 25th. They're going to be talking about the Green Dot operating system. And the best part about this event is you get a chance to actually tour Mole Halls Landscaping. There's going to be a shop tour. Now, I've been to a lot of conferences and a lot of shop tours. I have implemented a lot of what I've learned along the way, but the most applicable knowledge and lessons, that comes from the shop tour. So if you guys don't have a shop tour on your agenda yet, this might just be one to add to your list. Go to advisor.com to sign up. There's an early bird discount of 15% by May 1st. Make sure to tell them the Trades Talk sent you. All right, let's get to Kevin's episode. Joining me today is Kevin Scott. Kevin, well, he runs landscape design company up in Muskoka, Canada. He is just all over the place with Leanscaper. He's an advisor there. We've gotten to become great friends. We went on a couple heli-skiing trips over the last couple of years. So, Kevin, welcome to Trades Talk, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Justin. Great to be here and looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. So I want to start off just kind of laying the foundation here before we get too deep onto things. Just a little bit about your background, Kev, of what you did in the industry. You built this really awesome high-end residential design build company. I know you've got some maintenance you're working into that, and you've built that business to a point where you have just an incredible team operating that. You've been able to travel, get into Leanscaper, become, someone that's actually giving back to other landscapers as well and helping in so many ways. So maybe just set the table for us. What's the business look like today? And what's your day-to-day looking like for your team as well?
Yeah, sounds good. So Muskoka Landscapers, we're going into our 18th season this year. We're going to be a team of over 50 this year, which we're excited about. We are adding maintenance, as you mentioned. We used to be in maintenance. We built it out into its own company about 6-7 years ago, and then ended up selling it. Now we're ready to dive back in. We've just
nice.
Yeah. So we're it's just part of that customer experience. We just know that we need to enhance it, and it's one of the ways that we can add some great value for them and for us. And my oldest daughter has been running her own sort of maintenance / softscape company for about 8 years now since she started university. So she's coming on board. So I'm excited about that, really investing some time working with her. So that's going to take up about 15 people. We've got about 35 doing hardscape. We do a lot of design build. We do a lot of work for other landscape architects, mainly lakefront residential. A lot of the properties that we're working on range from, 7 to 35 million in real estate value. So they're great projects, a lot of fun, high programming, some really cool features. And for a very short part of the season, most of our customers are here from July to August. It's really only a couple of months, maybe a few weekends either end of that if the weather's nice. So it's kind of a unique area that we get to work in, unique customers. We certainly get to work with some really fun people and some, all kinds of great variety that way. But the company on a day-to-day, I've got a great management team. I've had them for quite some time now. We're continuing to build. We're adding new ones below them. Our whole leadership strategy has really revolved around our people. And I think it was probably 7 or 8 years ago where we really flipped that switch from, our priorities always used to be customer, profit, people. Now it's people, customer, profit. And when we flipped that, it was just amazing to see how things shifted for us and improved. We had a quick trajectory getting up into the double digits, but we really had a lot of ups and downs getting there. We would climb a couple $1 million, drop $1 million, climb a couple $1 million, drop $1.5 million. So it wasn't steady until we hit the 10 mark. And now I feel like we've planed out into this really nice spot where we've really been able to focus on waste and systems and right ICP. And, when you get to the point where you can really be selective about the work you're doing, just gives you so much more time and energy that's well spent focusing on those right ICPs and delivering a great product. So as far as my day-to-day goes, I'm still at the office just about every day. I do travel a lot in the winter. I'm fortunate. I probably travel 3 or 4 months a year, get to do a lot of cool stuff like the heli trip. And Leanscaper we touched on quickly, but it's been a game changer as well, being part of that whole program and having guys like yourself there, and just the people that we interact with, the ideas that get talked about, the sessions, the conversations, the dinners. It's just an incredible spot to be, and incredible things happening very quickly. So it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. It's like this fire hose of information and knowledge. And most people go to 1 or 2 conferences a year, but when you have that fire hose going like every week through the accelerator or through other events with Mark and Leanscaper, it's kind of incredible what can be accomplished in a short period of time, right? Just from a mindset perspective.
Absolutely. And it's so great to see the diversity of the people there too. You've got people that are doing 200 or 300 grand a year to 30, 40, 50 million a year, some higher. But that diversification of the group, and like people being able to have conversations with other leaders that are, or were once where they are, just adds so much value to everybody. And then I think the whole Leanscaper team has just been, killing it. Every event, the accelerators, the Q&As, the information sharing, the Lana. I mean, it's making dramatic impact, not only for the people that are there, but all the people that work for everybody that's there. It's an awesome thing to watch.
It really is. I have, been involved with a lot of different organizations and companies and coaching operations, and I've never really experienced a team that the Leanscaper team is that Mark put together to be so engaged at every single level of the company. And I know he has this like kind of perfect number that he says like 30 to 40 team members, but every single call in the chat, every event at like, whether it's 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. at the breakfast table, or, after midnight at the bar, like, his team is there, they're engaged, and they genuinely care about the success of everyone that's there and everyone that's back home too.
Yeah, I think it's a special thing. It's a special group he's put together. I really enjoy. I mean, I think, some of it is just like an alignment thing too. Like, I love the mission and vision. It's very similar to ours here. We have a lot of the same beliefs, and yeah, the whole group of people that have been brought together by it, not just the the people that work at Leanscaper, but the people at the events, the way the communication happens, the smoothness of it all, the venues for the events. It's hard to not say good things. I can't think of anything that hasn't been better than I expected. Like, I often use this in conversation. You come back from an event, and I can only imagine what it's like for people that have just started. I know for myself, I feel like I have really good systems. We've been tweaking them for years. I still come home with hundreds of notes about little adjustments, new ideas. Why didn't we think of that? We should be doing this. And it can be overwhelming, but it's so incredible to see how much improvement there is left in the industry. And again, I mean, it just gets into the whole other realm of, AI and PE and autonomous mowers and like all the other stuff that's happening right now. It's just such a great time to be in the industry.
It really is. It's such a great time, and it's so much fun. We've also found that, right? Like, we have a really good onboarding program, that mm-hmm. I believe in. It works really well. And then we do the accelerator sprint that talks about onboarding. And as Mark unpacks that for an hour on how to onboard someone, day 1, day 10, day 30, day 60, day 90, and kind of the steps with each one of those milestones, my team's kind of like, I look over to Jessica and she's like writing all these notes down, and it's a great feeling to know that you have a good system and that you're optimizing it. And it's even a greater feeling to not have a good system and know that you're putting in a good one in. So one of the questions I have for you is like, how do you go about that? And that question is, how do you go about optimizing good systems to make them better without just overloading your team with information? Because I think there's a balance there. How do you go back and really implement some of this stuff?
One, I have to just really hold back a bit. I try not to unload too much. A few of the events I've been to on my own or with one other person, it is hard to not come back and go, okay, this is what we're doing. So I'd say, bite-sized chunks. We tend to not do more than 4 or 5 things at a time, as far as adjustments or new SOPs or implementing some sort of new strategy. And usually in those 4 or 5, there's probably a couple that are kind of low-hanging fruit and fairly easy to adjust. And then there might be 2 or 3 things that are going to require a little more effort from everybody and some buy-in and some time. And we really look at it as, once we feel like the implementation process is over, time for new. So I would say our strategy is to just not overwhelm our team too much, make sure they're a part of the things they can be a part of, so that we're not just saying this is what we're doing now. It's a whole team effort, especially when we start talking about standards and SOPs. So I think getting that buy-in right at the get-go, and then really just being supportive of it, talking about it all the time, talking about it in every Monday morning meeting, asking people if they've used it, how they're using it, what's worked, what hasn't worked, is there tweaks we should make? Because often with any new system, you're still tweaking 3, 4, 5 months in. And then from there, it's like little tweaks every year. So I think it's the implementation that's the key, right? I think we all know what the right things to do are. We can find the information. We hear good ideas all the time. We go to events and we get bombarded with great ideas. But I think it's really the implementation. I think that's where most owners can really have a struggle trying to get that buy-in from their team when they're really just trying to push it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, especially when you're in the midst of quote unquote the busy season. You're hiring, right. You're trying to do sales and get clients and projects up and rolling, and then also trying to implement these things. Is there I guess 2 ways to do it, and maybe it's a blend, but one way is like, all right, this winter we're going to completely redo our system and rebuild the company. Or is it every week we're going to implement something new and just progressively improve the business? Have you felt like one way is better than the other, or anything on that nature?
Yeah, I'd say it's funny. We were actually just talking a little bit about it this morning. For us being relatively seasonal, we do get that 2 or 3 month swing every winter where we're probably down to half the team. We might have 15 to 20 people working. It's mainly our leaders, so we have lots of time to meet. So we start doing weekly site managers meetings. That creates a lot of good movement. But for example, Wednesday this week, we're meeting to do a recap of this quarter. So at the start of this quarter, which was kind of the end of the busy season for us, we made a list of like 80 or 90 things that we want. Everybody had different ones. Some we knew were priority. Some we knew would be more work than others. So we're meeting on Wednesday to just recap again, see where we're at on all of them, see what we've successfully onboarded, what is still to be done, but prioritize. Because we know that by the end of March, kind of where we are at the end of March, whatever we've implemented is what we're running with for at least the next 2 quarters. And it won't be until Q3 before we start introducing new stuff again, which is really our setup for the next winter.
Got it. Right. So where you guys are at, you mentioned the clients come in July, August is the super busy season. I have to imagine you're doing work that you've already sold, but what about sales? I mean, is it hard to get sales in February and March when people aren't around because they're just not thinking about their houses that are their second homes?
I think, a couple things have affected that over the years. It used to be years ago that we would get most of our calls in January, February for a spring start. And some of these projects are multi-million-dollar jobs. But what's happened, and it's been a little bit negative as far as contractors in the township. The township has really put in some new systems that kind of slow down the permitting process. Site plan agreements, tree inventories, environmental studies. There's been a lot of things that have been added, blast studies. But for us, with VAST, the landscape architecture firm that we have, we're able to do those site plans and the tree inventory. So our funnel is often a year out, year and a half out. So we're really able to look in the future, figure out through that site plan agreement stage, negotiate with the town for the client, build a relationship with the client, and then really see kind of what the project is like and if it's something that we're really interested in for later, or maybe we want to pass based on schedule or something like that. But for the most part now, our funnel, like this year as an example, we're probably about 85% full. We've got a lot of stuff in the funnel still that could go off this fall. So we're really being selective now about what we're taking on, knowing that we have a, kind of 45,000 hour capacity for the season. We're going to make sure like that last 18,000 hours is the right fit work and the right fit time.
So you guys have really, through the design side, you have really controlled your pipeline and your backlog, and in a way, and I can relate to this too with our design build team, is like you kind of start to create, I don't want to say it's recurring income, but it's predictable income for at least the next, 85, like you said, 85% of the year is pretty much determined as long as you don't have any type of craziness happen. So you have a pretty reliable business in January going into the year. You kind of have a pretty good idea where you guys are going to land. Now, was there a time where you were not doing design and you were more just susceptible to that? You got to sell everything in January and February to make sure that April's a good month.
Yeah, we certainly went through that, more than once.
Same
and
here.
6-7 years ago, before the bylaws changed, again, it was a lot of frequency of calls in January, February, March for people that, and like the other thing that happened pre-COVID that was always a historical thing was like May long weekend and July 1st were the big weekends for completion. So we would often have like 5 or 6 projects closing on that date. The builders trying to close, the painters are trying to close, the masons are trying to finish. We're trying to finish below everybody. There's no staging room left. Like it was a gong show. But then during COVID, through material delays and that type of thing, it stopped that sequence of like July 1st is the date. We still have closings for sure, May 24 and July 1st, but I would say that overall, most of our deadlines are spread out a little bit further, and customers' expectations have lightened a little bit since COVID, not for quality, but for timing. They're willing to wait when they know what they're going to get. So I think it's been a bit of both, but yeah, we certainly went through years where, you're as rich as you can be at Christmas and like looking for money in March. Payments don't stop, insurance doesn't stop, salaries. I mean, everybody on here knows the drill. But yeah, now I would say it's a lot more predictable. And what it's really allowed us to do through partnerships and everything else, building out that sales funnel, is now our focus is really intentional about the year. We kind of already know where we're heading. If we're 10% over, 20% over, we can plan for it. We have time to plan for it. And we can really start strategizing with vendors and sub-trades and all the other things that it does for us to try and give as seamless a experience and job execution as we can.
Yeah, it's interesting, huh? It's like the more that you have planned out, the more strategic you can be about that work and ultimately make it more profitable and everyone wins. The client has a better experience and it goes smoother. The team, can hit their bonuses or make a little bit more money, and everybody wins. I think it's a good argument of why having more control over the entire process, whether that means adding some work, whether it's masonry work and maybe subbing that out instead of just letting the GC run that, or it's doing the design so you can kind of control the narrative around what is actually going in. It starts to become a very important part of that profitability piece in high-end residential design build.
Absolutely. And it's an interesting point, actually, that so last year was a tougher year. I think overall in most areas it was. We were a couple million less than we had hoped, but our net was the same. But as we analyzed that throughout the year, what it was we still had a lot of great projects, but the programming was less. We had less $300,000-$400,000 pools. There was less masonry work. There was fewer outdoor kitchens, fewer sport courts, things that often clog up a schedule a little bit, or where you've got to leave a project while somebody else finishes, like before the pool shot. We can't do much until the pool shot. So it was just interesting to see that when we were focused just on hardscape and softscape, we were much more efficient than bigger projects with a ton of programming.
Interesting take. We experienced something very similar, and I know a lot of people did last year. 2025 was a tough year, and some of it was you booked the work and you sold the work, but you didn't get a chance to put it in for whatever reason. There's some delays. Right. And then the other side was exactly what you're saying, just some cost cutting, some conservative measures from some of the clients of saying, hey, let's phase that in. We had a few clients who wanted to phase in a pool. And I'm like, you kind of got to do the pool or not.
You got to start there, yeah.
Everything. So question here. I think a lot of people who listen to this are either in maintenance or maybe they're in commercial and they're eyeing that residential design build because they see the high 50% plus margins. And after doing it for a decade plus, you start to figure things out. What would be your advice to someone coming into the design build market? Maybe they're just doing maintenance or they're just doing commercial and they want to get into that. What's some of the, mistakes that you've made that you'd like to avoid if you were advising someone in starting up this new division?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think, being prepared for the work that needs to be done, setting clear expectations. And I think just being honest with your first few projects, like letting them know, unless you've hired people that have the skill set you need.
Yeah.
But if it's something you're developing, often new contractors want to get the big shiny jobs, but often they don't have the systems, the communication, the cash flow. There's a lot of things that need to go right when you're doing bigger projects, but it's very doable and it's very, very scalable. If you've got a great skill set on your team and certainly easy to hire for, I would just try and build some partnerships with some really good builders or people that and just start getting your feet wet. Whether that's through design build, there's so many great ways to get design now without having it in-house. Right. There's great people out there doing really great work for affordable prices and turning it around very quickly. So I would probably lean into that if I was starting over. But then, I think the biggest thing is just like, don't there's two strategies. Build it in the air, which is great. But if you burn partnerships right off the bat, it's hard to rebuild. Like it's twice as hard to rebuild a partnership that went bad as it is to build a new one. So I think just being careful on what you bite off, what you take on, and just being prepared for that work so that you don't have the hardships of failing and disappointing, not only a customer, but maybe a builder that might be a great partnership.
That's great advice. And I would say to that point is the bigger the job, the more risky and harder it is to make your net profit target. So sometimes it's better to do 10, $50,000 jobs than one $500,000 job, especially when you're getting off the ground, because you can make a few mistakes on a few jobs, but if 7 or 8 out of 10 go well, which I think you can probably, bat 70%, you're going to ultimately do really, really well. And maybe some of those jobs go really, really good and you get a 30 or 40% net margin because things just totally went smooth. And then, but if you do the $1 or $2 $500,000 jobs, I mean, those things just have a tendency to drag on, and those customers expect a very high level of quality, and that punch list can really just erode all your profit at the end of the job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Punch list and warranty.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It can kill it. And some of the best business I know, I work with a couple of guys that do their project. They basically do paver and planting backyards and entrances, urban stuff. They're probably doing their average project's probably like 50 to 65,000, but they're pumping out 2 of those a week with 7 or 8 people, crushing it. And their funnel is full because they've just built such a great name. And they know when people they believe them when they say, yeah, we'll be in and out in 5 or 6 days. When you start to get a reputation like that because of the consistency and the work you deliver, yeah, the shiny $500,000 job is great, but if you're not set up for it, like that's a totally different project than two $50,000 jobs a week.
Yeah. And I mean, just you saying that, it's like we've gotten into some of those bigger jobs, and it's like I'm almost jealous of the guys that are just doing the $50,000 jobs and pumping them
in and out.
Oh, yeah, that sounds kind of nice. So
we never closed the window on it. You know, we used to, for a few years, I was like, if it's less than $100,000, we're not interested. It just it's not profitable for us. But when the right ones come along, where it isn't in and out in a week or 2 weeks, they can be fantastic projects. Great margin.
So I want to hit that because I completely agree with this, and it's a concept that's really hard to train for, because we preach, hey, find your ICP, and Mark was just talking about that on an Accelerator Leanscaper call of like having this really tough filter so no one gets through unless they're a perfect match.
Right.
And oftentimes the easiest way to filter people out is their budget, because it's like this black and white line you can draw. And we've been struggling with this because I don't necessarily think our ICP is a budget discussion. Like, yeah, they can't be like $5,000 jobs, but the right ICP at 50,000 is very, very profitable and could be a great experience for everyone involved. So how have you been able to maybe communicate that to your team, or if someone's kind of in that mark where they just drew the line going into 2026 of like, we're not doing anything under 100,000. We've been there. We now are not there. But how are you communicating to that team who's kind of trying to qualify of, okay, well, you've got someone at 200 and someone at 50K. How do I decide which ones are truly our ICP?
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I think the thing that happens, and I should say that, we do like 20 to 25 projects a year. So it doesn't take a lot to fill the funnel, but our average project is like 660, 670. However, when we get those calls, as soon as somebody inquires, they get a welcome package, and it's got a programming checklist on it that we get before we have our call. So we already know kind of what they're looking for. So sometimes we will get one that says fire pit, like they want a 300 square foot fire pit and a bit of planting. And I still like to have those calls, because if they're willing to be at our schedule, they're great fillers. Sometimes we finish a big project where we've got 7 or 8 people available that could go bang something like that out very, very quickly before the next big one starts. So for me, it's usually schedule driven. If they're right fit and there's some good margin in it, and we can also price small things like that kind of over the phone, or at least give them a range that's pretty accurate. And if they're like, yeah, that's what I was thinking, or that's too much. But I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a job on a call, and like my rule here, and designers hate it, because I say, like, we're going to every job. We're going to every meeting. Yeah. Just because of the area we're in. I've gone to so many properties where I've pulled in and I'd be like, this person's not going to spend $50,000, and they spend 400. So
totally,
I still feel like you got to go, like it's an hour and a half to go and check it out, meet with them. If nothing else, you've provided a bit of an education for them about what they could do with their property, or had a conversation that hopefully gets referred to somebody else. The other thing that's big for us is, like, often they're a referral from somebody else. So if they're a referral, at the minimum, I want to go and see them. Not necessarily me, but somebody's going to go see them for sure and help them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice, because I think as you start to scale, a lot of us start to just say, well, nope, they're not our ICP. They don't fit this, and this. Thanks, but no thanks. Go find someone else. And there's downstream effects that need to be understood when you make that decision, especially if you have someone maybe not totally trained to give, like, you got to say no really nicely, especially if it's a referral, because otherwise you start to create this image that, like, oh, well, I wasn't good enough to work with them, and you don't really want that out in the community. You guys give us an idea of your community. How big is the area that you're working in, where, population or what have you? It's fairly
so
small.
It's relatively small. It's like in the off season, there's probably a population of the combined 3 towns. So there's like a hub in Port Carling, which is where our office and yard is, where 3 major lakes connect. So they call it the hub. And the three lakes are Lake Joe, Lake Muskoka, and Lake Rosso. And that's where the majority of the large projects are, on those three lakes. Now, around that, there's hundreds and hundreds of smaller lakes. And we're starting to see the development rise a lot on those. Every year, there's like a bigger project than the normal. So like we might travel an hour max to visit a site. And we've got lots of great options. There's tons of great lakes around, but those three are kind of our focus. And that's where most of our work is, because it is so referral based.
Nice. So, and to that point, right, then that referral based community is so important to continue to nurture and provide them with some value. It's kind of a favor maybe to the person that referred you, is like, at least go have the meeting, give them some advice, and decide if they're the right fit or not.
Well, and it's an interesting demographic too, because, you know, we're dealing with a lot of high wealth people. A lot of their properties are their third, fourth, or fifth home or vacation home. And the groups are tight. You know, like they hang out with the same people. They've got a friend group of 30 or 40 on the lake. They're constantly referring people that they like. They're also talking about the people they don't like. So for me and for our business, it's all about partnerships and relationships. And honestly, I think no matter where you are, partnerships are the easiest way to expand your business and really bring that right ICP all of the time. You know, if you align yourself with people that are constantly building $5 million homes or $300,000 homes, whatever your market is, and you strengthen those relationships and build them, I think that's the best work you can get. You know, you're not having to sift through it as much. They're generally bringing the right fit. It's generally yours to lose. And we have a partnership funnel that we work just like we do our sales funnel. It's the same thing. There's all kinds of touch points, and, you know,
what does
making
that look
relationships is big. Well, we have like a 3-week touch point. So it could be a DM, could be an email, could be a phone call, could be a text, could be a pizza, could be a charcuterie board. We've dropped off cold champagne with pizza on Friday afternoons to the office.
And who are these partners? Give us maybe a look.
Mainly builders and architects. And then the other thing that's really worked well for us for that retainment is we do a 1-year warranty inspection. And we also will send a crew the next day to tweak whatever. If there's some jointing that needs to be topped up or irrigation adjustments, add a couple lights, whatever it is, we just do it. And I think that just keeps us so fresh in the minds of the customer that, you know, that whole next season when they're having all the boathouse parties and everybody's talking, you really want to be on the tip of their tongue. And you want them to be satisfied with what they got. And we're really working hard. We always have worked hard, but we're just getting better and better at trying to make sure that customer experience is huge. And it's the same for our partners, right? We want to take the stress out of it for them. We want to evolve or revolve around a high communication level, no surprises, great customer experience, whether we're working for the builder or not. So yeah, I think there's all kinds of little funnels. Like we have a few different funnels, but the partnership one is one that we like to work on. We've built it probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it's good because now I also have project managers that are building their own partnerships. So they're using it as well. Yeah. So, right, we can all start seeing, because I you know, the past 3 or 4 years, there's been many jobs that we've done where I've never met the owner. So it's been nice to see them start building their own relationships. And, you know, I'm sure it's very similar with you. You know, you've got guys that are building right fit relationships with right fit customers.
It's so true. And we were just talking about this with a couple companies recently about this idea of like, you know, okay, they're doing 3 million in revenue, high end design build, and they're kind of stuck, right? It's like, all right, how do I do more marketing? How do I get more clients? And this, I think, is the scalable method. It's this partnership process in which your project managers, your superintendents, even to that level, your obviously business developers or salespeople or estimators, everyone becomes a salesperson through relationship building. And if you can give them a cadence, like you said, like a 3-week cycle of, hey, you have these 5 or 10 clients that we need to check with, and I want you to check in with them every 3 weeks, then I think it becomes this this like engine that spits out great opportunities. But if you're not doing that and all you're doing is spending money on Google and just like advertising like crazy, you're just another name in the sea of landscapers, which there's plenty of landscapers out there.
Agreed. I think the return on it is so much better too, right? Because once you have built that relationship, and the funnel works very similar for new relationships as well, where you can still, send a nice DM, send a great email, have a site visit with them, go check out something that they're doing that you thought was cool. There's so many great ways to kind of break that ice without feeling like you're imposing on them or that you're berating them. Because I think that's a mistake that people do that for a month and then they give up. And maybe sometimes to the point that it's been irritating. Maybe we have people too that are irritated, but I think we do it in a way that's really spread out, very consistent, and has worked well for a number of years. And again, I can't stress enough how important those relationships are. And I think it's the same whether you're in a design build business, maintenance business. There's just so many great things you can do, right? Take people golfing and sponsor events. So like there's the whole strategy around it is just about consistency and hitting the right people. Yeah.
Well, I really like consistency. It's true because people, they see you once and you're just kind of a flash in the pan, but they see you 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And it's funny. It's like sponsoring the kids' little league. You're at the golf tournament. You're at the Chamber of Commerce with your other business folk. You're, maybe dropping by a job site and just like, you're like, wow, this is an amazing house. What are you guys doing here? Tell us a little bit about it. And though it's not one thing, but it's the entire ecosystem that ultimately I think breeds this opportunity to grow your business through contacts.
And I think that's one of the great ways too, just for some younger entrepreneurs out there that are trying to break that ice. Like, and I've had this happen to me many times, and I've actually done it a few times as well, where if I do see something cool with somebody that I think would be a right fit for our work, and it is, again, this goes for anybody in the industry, but if you reach out to somebody that you admire their work and you tell them that you admire their work and you would really love to get together and have a look at what they're doing there, next time you're on site, just let me know. I'll bring the coffee, whatever. I'd love to just have 20 minutes of your time. When I often get emails from subcontractors at, hey, we're so-and-so, here's our time and material list. This is the equipment we have. Please give us a call. I don't even look at them. But if I have some younger guy that reaches out and wants to come visit a site and we go and do that, I'm probably asking him for his list. So I think it's just like this, and it doesn't have to be fake, right? If you see somebody that you think, man, I really like the work they're doing, I can do that type of work. They seem cool. Like, it's how the best connections are made.
Yes, it's having that initial confidence and courage and it's not really, I don't even want to say it's confidence. It really is more of like just courage, because I do this from time to time and a lot of my team does this, and obviously you guys do this, but making that phone call or stopping by that office is so much harder than sending an email, but Totally. It goes so much further. And I think that's a really important point to pound home is like, we're not talking about seeing a job site and sending them an email. I really believe like the phone call, and the younger you are, like if you're 20, 22, 23, and you call one of the more established GCs or builders in the market, they're going to have a lot of respect for you because there's this idea that you don't ever want to communicate over the phone.
Right.
But let's face it, that's how they want to communicate. And so if you can show that, hey, I'm willing to kind of cold call you in a way, I think it goes like, we're afraid to cold call people because the spam calls we receive.
Right.
But
for sure.
I think it's a great way to get your face and your name out there.
Works well for architects too, because often,
how do you guys approach that?
The same. I mean, we now kind of have, we do not necessarily all their projects, but we work with most of the landscape architects from our area and from Toronto and, surrounding cities that would come to Muskoka. But I think it's the same way. And I think it's the same way for young guys, because that's one of the DMs I get the most is how you break into a relationship with an architect or a landscape architect. And I think, side note, both are equally powerful. Like if you're a landscaper, don't just focus on the landscape architects. Architects are great too. And often the problem, if you're a younger, newish company, is that they've already got established relationships with people they're confident in. They've got 4 or 5 installers that they really like. They know that their customer is going to have a good experience. Those ones are hard to crack sometimes. So sometimes as somebody new in the business, focus on somebody that may also be new in the business that is a landscape architect that, you can build a long-term relationship with, or a builder. You can often see just from socials kind of who's up and coming and building some cool stuff. So I think same thing though, consistency, like that constant touch point.
And I would add to that, new to the area is another one, because
that's a big one.
We've had, and it's hard to know, right? Like, how do you know an architect is new to the area? You got to do a little research. You got to try to, we'll try to look at permits, who's been pulling permits lately, where are they from? And if they're not from the area, there's a good chance that we could have an opportunity to bid with them, because they're either bringing their builders with them, or they don't have anyone here. So I think right. You gotta stay abreast to like what's going on in your market, what's moving and shaking. And even if you do in-house design, we still work with architects all the time. I mean, it'd be short-sighted to think that we're going to do all the designs that we install. So, don't burn those bridges just because you started a design department. That was something we made a little bit of that mistake, and we've kind of built that back
right.
up.
And they're sometimes the best projects.
Yeah.
Like often they've got the customer's ear. Customer trusts them. They're getting to build what they want, which is usually pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, we have a good mix. I'd say Vast probably does 50% of our design work, and the rest is through landscape architects. And often it's like 2 or 3 projects a year from the same ones. So it's good too. And again, once you build that relationship, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good conversation just around that whole marketing and new customer, especially the time of year that we're going to be launching this podcast here in spring. I want to make a little bit of a switch here on what we're talking about. And I want to talk a little bit about the journey you've been going on as a Leanscaper advisor, and in a way giving back and working with other contractors. When did you make that switch, and what was kind of the, the purpose behind that?
Yeah. So it started out, it was September 24. We actually launched it. We've been talking about it for a few months. It started out as I wanted to start doing some mini conferences, like a 2-day or maybe a 3-day, with owners that had their spouse was involved, or they had a manager they could bring, but just 2 people from a company, and actually build out their SOPs as a group. So maybe doing 15 or 20 companies at a time. I was going to bring a few people from my team to help support it. I was going to bring in a couple of speakers. Anyway, we started talking about that because I often have felt that you go to a big event, you get all these ideas, you get back to work, and somebody doesn't show up for work, and a truck breaks down, and somebody's mad, and you kind of lose your momentum. So I thought it'd be great to like actually build something that they could leave with an implementation strategy and do it. So that was kind of the original idea. And then the guy, Jake, that was helping me with the marketing, he was like, well, we should get a community going. You should maybe do a little bit of coaching. And at first I wasn't really into it. I mean, I'd been working with some people off and on over the years, like mainly friends, and other entrepreneurs that I'm friendly with. But I just knew I wanted to do something else for the industry. So the communities, we've got about 240 people in there. It's free. There's some good sharing in there. I love the fact that people with smaller businesses can reach out to people with larger businesses and ask questions. It's definitely ramped up seasonally. It's much busier in the winter than it is in the rest of the season. And then the coaching just kind of evolved. I got a couple of clients, then I got involved with Leanscaper. We talked about the advisor role, got started with that. And ultimately, I've built out this like 6-month intensive, which is a lot of work. It's a lot. It's probably 3 to 4 hours of work, a minimum for the owner, and probably the same for all the management team. And it's more of like a rebuild or a restructure. Like if, there's lots of companies out there that are in the 7 to 12 range that have kind of lost their way a little bit or haven't really settled into their sweet spot. And often they don't have the systems, or they need to tweak the systems. So I've kind of just started leaning into that a little bit more. I do a little bit of traditional stuff too, where it's a weekly, 1 hour call. But the intensive is kind of where I'd like to see. I just feel like it's more impact for more people. We can help the whole company. And I'm really only dedicating about 250 hours to 300 hours a year to that. So it's definitely a piece of what I'm doing, but got lots of things on the go. So it's fun though. I got to say, I really enjoyed it. And I mean, it's nothing better than when you actually see somebody improve or hit a goal, or, we had one guy last year that went from 1.4 to 2.5, and the goal was 2.2. So like, when things like that happen, it's pretty exciting. And last year was a tough year.
It was for everybody.
So yeah, totally. No matter where you were. So anyway, I'm really enjoying it. Again, I love working with the whole Leanscaper team. There's a lot of right fit people there too, so trying to be selective about it and not overcommit, but really trying to nail the people that I am, working with.
Oh man, that's awesome. It's such a great feeling when someone reaches out and is like, hey, thank you for helping me, or your community gave me this thing that I was really looking for. And here's the results that I got through that. So Wealthy Landscaper, right, on school.
Yeah.
Great community. And we started our communities about the same time.
We did. Yeah. We were chatting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been fun. It's a challenging thing, because it's kind of, you have this obligation, like you're always wanting to pour into the community, and you're like, am I doing enough? Am I, giving enough back? But I think the main thing is just creating that like town hall place for everybody to come together and swap stories and share ideas.
Well, and I mean, the level that you're running yours is incredible. Like the content that you're putting in there, the back story stuff is amazing. The templates and everything that you guys have been sharing are fantastic. But I do get the feeling it's hard. It's hard. I've set a goal for this year twice a week, right? I'm trying to post in there twice a week. I'm checking it daily. Like when I get prompts, I'll check. But what I found, or what's great about the winter, is there's more people asking questions, so you can see that there's 50 or 80 people that were on it that day. And sometimes you have days where there's only 2 or 3. So hopefully it's helping some. What's that?
It's funny how that goes in like these waves. Like one week will be crazy, and then the next week there'll be like crickets, and you're like, what is going on? But it is very, very cyclical to weather or
totally.
Yeah.
The question that was brought up, or the poll that you did, like sometimes they're just smashed and sometimes it's like 3 likes.
Like, what the hell?
No rhyme or reason, but it is great.
Yeah.
What I do know about it is I do get lots of messages from guys that say, hey, I reached out to so-and-so. He really helped me out. Thanks for setting that up. Or getting people connected with, some of our partners like MQuip and Element, and, getting them hooked up and set up with somebody that could really look after them is great part of it as well.
I've really enjoyed that part in the last couple of years, as I've started to do more traveling and get my brand out there, is just connecting people with companies and partners that have done really great work for us.
Right.
Whether it's software, whether it's hardware like Cress, but it's like, hey, this company has helped us in these ways. It's given us a pretty big advantage locally, and you're kind of helping 2 people. You're helping the company grow that has helped you, and then you're helping your friends or colleagues in the industry get connected to great people. And there's so many great people out there, and I've noticed this too. Some of the best people are also some of the most humble people.
Yes.
And so their marketing and their outreach is a lot lower than maybe another company that has to do a lot of marketing because their name is and the reputation isn't as good. So, the people who are super humble that don't do all that marketing, it's really fun to be able to connect them with, like-minded people.
Totally. And I think that's one of the best things about our whole industry, is that it is pretty collaborative and people are willing to talk and return an email or have a conversation. I think that's one of the best things. And I mean, you really see it when you're at an event like a Leanscaper event. People get super vulnerable. They're happy to share. The mastermind groups have been really good as well. It's all cool stuff. And I think, when you factor in PE and AI, not that PE, I'm not saying that PE is the thing for everybody. I just think it's such a great strategy to work your business towards, whether you do it or not.
Yeah.
But running it like you are is a great model. And then AI, I just think we're going to see such dramatic change in the next few years. I mean, you know better than anyone the changes it's making and how it's evolving and how quickly it's evolving. I'm impressed every day.
It's mind blowing. I mean, what are some of as we look forward, how do you envision using AI in your business? Maybe give us an example or two, because I think this is a topic that everyone talks about, and then it's like AI is going to try and change the world, and then we're like, okay, so anyway, next topic, and so people are like, well, wait a minute,
they cringe.
How are we actually going to use AI? Exactly, it's just like this buzzword. So I've been trying to figure out and come up with like really good ideas around how to leverage AI, and it's a bit of a struggle because it's like so broad. There's so much going on. What are some of the things, maybe it's a trend you're excited about or true, like you're implementing some of these things, but how do you see AI really making an impact in your business today and tomorrow?
Right. Yeah. Speed of improvement is huge. I think the speed at which you can build systems, especially in a program like Lana that has some great history in there and some great roots to really, when you ask to build an SOP or an install technique for something, it's already got a great layout. So now you're just tweaking and adding things. And funny, we've been building some new SOPs this winter with our supers. So we have these meetings and we're literally writing all the ideas on a board for what did we do a few weeks ago? Flagstone install. So it was all the tools you needed. We had 60% of them. And this is a group of site managers, myself, project managers, and, with it constantly making those suggestions, I just think that so building systems is a big part of it. Sharing the systems is the bigger part of it. Yeah. Having by spring, all of our staff will be connected to Lana. They'll be able to go in there and find the SOPs. They'll be able to find out how the pension works. They'll be able to ask, what to do in this situation. They'll be able to look at standards. Supers will be able to say, hey, go grab all the tools for the Flagstone, and we're installing Flagstone today. Go get all the tools ready, and they'll be able to just have a full list in there. So I think communication, I think the agents are going to be massive. I really see a point likely this year where we'll be able to just get on there and ask, I'm on job so-and-so, how many loads of topsoil have I got left? And it'll tell you, you've got 62 tons left or whatever it might be. And then the frequency of job tracking will be easier. It's already pretty easy through LMN to look at your hours on a daily basis, but there's no prompt that forces you to. So I think having those prompts, the other thing I really see it being a benefit for with us getting back into maintenance this year is maintenance crews showing up to a site and it's saying person one does this, this, and this. This is what you need. This is how long it should take. Person two is doing this, this, and this. So, there's some great value in that. Just as a training tool. But you start factoring all those different things in Greenius, you start combining those with AI, and it is gonna improve culture. It's gonna improve clarity. It's gonna show people kind of what they're responsible for, when, and what happens if they do it. And then overall, I think from an overall perspective, outside of maybe autonomous mowers and maybe some of the paver machines that are starting to come out, you're still going to need the people. We're still going to need the people. My hope is, and at Muskoka Landscaper, is what we know for sure, is we're going to be able to manage more work with the same overhead. And I think that is likely going to be the biggest win, is we'll be far more competitive and do a better job.
Yeah. I agree with all that. I mean, being able to be more competitive, being able to pay your team more, and being able to do a better job, all those three things almost never go together today. Right. If you want to pay your team more, you got to charge more. If you want to do a better job, you got to spend more time on site. And so that charges the client more. With the AI optimization that you're describing, we're going to be able to have teams that are just so efficient. You're not going to forget tools at the yard, because we know that happens all the time and it slows things down. We're not going to argue about who's doing what in the morning, because the daily huddle's really going to dictate the process and the flow of the day. And also, like, just imagine if your entire company, every crew had a daily huddle and an afternoon huddle. Like, no AI, just the fact that that's happening every day is going to help improve things. So some of this, I think, and I don't think this is unintentional by the Leanscaper team and Mark's vision, is some of the things we're doing are just good business standards. And then we're optimizing those standards with AI. But it's like, yeah, we should all be doing a huddle every morning. And we've struggled to keep that going consistently at the field level. We've done better at the office level, where everyone's on Teams all day and on email.
We're actually trying to figure out right now how we're going to implement the huddle versus the 5 at 3. So we have a 5 at 3 that we use. Comes in at 3:00 every day from all the site managers, and it asks them, what did you get completed today? What are you doing tomorrow? What's slowing you down? What do you need from me? Meaning everybody that gets it. So it's design, ops, myself, GM. And then we have subcontractors on there too, just to make sure the communication's happening. But from that little glimpse every day, it's also got photos on it, 4 to 5 photos. Nice. But I have a great sense every day with 8 or 9 crews running, who needs what, if there's any fires anywhere, what's going well. They're planning for their next day. Like, it's more like a reminder. So we're just trying to figure out how we're going to implement that with the huddle to get the same information spread out and how it's going to get spread out. So we're playing with a couple of different things now, but I'm sure it'll all be voice very soon, or maybe it's prompts with voice.
Yeah, it's like the progress that we're making every week or every month is pretty incredible too, because instead of having to type out a SOP, like you were saying, you can voice the SOP, or here's what we're currently doing, here's what we'd like to do. And boom, in 5 to 10 seconds, you have a pretty well laid out SOP that you can tweak and then publish, which in the past, an SOP would take like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do one SOP, because it just iteration after iteration.
Absolutely.
Without finally being done.
It's so fast.
Yeah.
I can't get over it.
It's exciting. So as you guys look forward over the next couple of years, what's the vision that you guys are taking your business in? You're adding some maintenance. We know that. Are you guys continuing to just optimize what you're having? Are you growing in new markets? What's kind of the vision over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, we're looking to double in 5. That's the new strategy. We've got everything built out. We've got a pretty systematic approach. We're moving into a couple of new areas that we're excited about. It's a bit of a slow process with the new areas, but we're starting to get a little bit of traction. We just started that last year. Maintenance will be a big one for us. I think we can build that out quite quickly. We've got some ambitious goals for the first 2 years, so we're working on that. But yeah, we're excited. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about slowly working my way more and more out of the company, but still kind of being the visionary and really supporting the whole team from that perspective. And that's already starting to happen, which has been a lot of fun. But we'll be making some dramatic changes in the next couple of years that'll catapult a few things, which will be great.
That's so exciting to hear. And I think with what we're describing too, with AI and visibility into the day-to-day, the CEO or visionary position will be able to be more connected with less time involved.
Mm-hmm.
You won't have to go to every job site to understand what's happening on every job site. And the team, I think, is going to get to the point where they're kind of like, hey, like we're good. Like I don't need you to check in every day. Like let's check in every other week, or let's do an executive check-in once a month. And you've empowered and given them that ability to run their team, their company, their job site. I think that is an area and a direction I'm really excited to get to.
Well, I mean, you've got a massive team there now too. So I'm sure like those incremental savings of time just add up so well, right? And like fewer meetings and higher comms, like there's so much impactful stuff that happens in a business when systems and communication come together for everybody. And not only that, like just the clarity it creates. Like everybody knows what they're responsible for and to who and when and what the timeline is. And the more they use it, the better they're getting. So it's going to be cool.
It is. It's going to be really cool. And those that, I'll say this, like if you're listening and you're kind of on the edge here, and maybe you're not an owner, you're kind of like waiting for your owner to do something with AI. Look, the more you can lean into this as a human being and a leader and a position player even, the more valuable you're going to be to anyone out there. And I think it's really important that we don't sit on the sidelines and wait for other people to bring us the next step in AI. So no matter your position in the company, whether you're the CEO owner or you're position player, go out and learn this stuff, because if you understand how to optimize your job and your role with AI, your earning potential is literally going to 10x in the next 5 years. Like if you're making 50,000 today, you can make 500,000 in 5 years if you truly optimize your ability with AI. What's your take on that, Kev? It's just constant learning.
Yeah, constant learning is key. And I think it's a little bit different depending on what stage you're at in business. But like you just touched on, the enterprise value increases that can happen fast, like really fast now, are dramatic. And I think sometimes people hold back on hiring that CEO, that new ops person, growth, whatever it might be, but you're just slowing down that enterprise value growth. And it's changing so much. And like you said, the multiples are going to get higher and higher. It's a really unique time right now in the industry. And again, like I touched on earlier, even if that's not your route, I think it's still a great thing to operate towards, operate like, because it does really clean up your business. It makes it very systematic. It makes it very repetitive. There's a lot of great things that come out of thinking and leaning into that. And I think just to go back a little bit, sorry, Justin, companies that you're still on the tools, start building your systems, right? Start building your systems so that as you grow, you're ready. And then when you do get to that 3-4 million mark, that's where you really need to become a better leader. A lot of people can get to the two mark, maybe even 3 million mark with not a ton of support, but to get over that, you need much more support. And often that support is what'll get you to 9 or 10, but starting those systems as early as possible, even if you're the guy on the whole workflow, change names as you add. So it's leadership is key. I wish I would have started earlier myself. I think I ran for probably 10 years with not a lot of great planning and not a lot of great vision.
Yeah, the vision and the planning is key. I think if you have a vision to grow, then you're going to be required to install those systems in your business so you can then level up yourself. And that's what ultimately I think growth and leadership is. It's a constant process of replacing yourself. Right. And like you have to go figure out the hard way and learn the hard lessons and then document those and then hand it to someone else. And look, they're not going to do it perfectly. They need to learn some of those lessons themselves as well. But the more you can just replace yourself as you grow, the faster ultimately you can get to the top. And then you get to this point where you're hiring people that are more advanced and more experienced and they're training you, which is kind of where I'm at right now. And that's fun. Super fun. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Love it.
So let's wrap this up and bring it in for a landing. At the end of every show on Trades Talk, we ask for a trade secret from our guests. So I wanted to hit you with that. What's a trade secret that you want to share with our audience today?
Yeah, it's always tough to give one, but I think, one thing that I would just say is that your company will never change without vision. I think so many people hold back because they either don't believe in it or they don't understand it or they don't know how to chart it out. But the sooner they do, that vision is so powerful. It gives you so much to work towards. And often when you start breaking down how where you want to get to, you start breaking it down to all the things that need to happen to get there. It becomes pretty possible. So I think that's not necessarily a secret, but I think that's a great strategy for anybody to think about, because even I see so many businesses that get stuck at a certain number. And it's often because there's no vision, or because the leader doesn't know where he wants to go, or where she wants to go, and there's no strategy to get there. So I think it's never too early to start setting out a vision for yourself.
I love that. That's such a great secret. And yeah, it's not a secret. People have probably heard it, but the power of the vision is not to be underestimated. And I'll just add, if you're thinking, well, I don't know what my vision is, it's like, that's okay. Like, put something out there.
Can change
it. Yeah. Like, you might find that random thought vision of 10 years from today ends up exactly where you're at, or you may change that in 6 months, and that's totally okay. The main thing I think that you're saying is, let's get some clarity. Let's get a vision out there and start marching in a direction so we're not standing still.
Right. From a tool perspective, Justin, I'll throw this one out there too, because I think it's a useful one and it's been good to us, regardless of what business you're in, maintenance, snow removal, design, build, whatever it might be. One thing that's worked really well for us is we present every estimate, whether that's on a Zoom call or in person. You know, so many companies just send out, "Dear Mrs. Jones, here's your estimate for the backyard. Let us know if you have any questions." You know, rather than having a 15 or 20 minute conversation with them, talking about each item, what's included in it, why you've priced it that way, why you selected those materials, what the warranty is. And not only that, the whole time you're creating more confidence for them, because I promise you, not too many of the competitors are taking the time to present their estimate.
Right.
And that is a tool that has worked really well for us. And if nothing else, it's 15 or 20 minutes to help educate somebody to hopefully make a better decision. So I think that's a useful tool.
I completely agree. When we started doing this, close rate jumped through the roof, and the jobs we didn't close, we got really good feedback during those presentations.
Yeah, that's the other part of it.
So our learning loop was much faster, which gave us the ability to improve. So yeah, I think that's such a great point, is 15 minutes on Zoom. And one thing that I'll say, I think that we need to improve on is, like, we'll always, for the most part, present in person the first proposal, and then there's always revisions, right? Well, I think our revisions are being emailed. I'd really be interested to see, if we started presenting those over Zoom instead of emailing, what the type of feedback we would get. It would probably be similar to what you're saying. So I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, we try. I mean, on the bigger projects, we'll definitely follow it through. If there's been, you know, if the price has changed a lot, we're going through it again.
That's a good point. That's a great point. So, hey, how can people find you? You're on Instagram. You've got the Wealthy Landscaper community on School. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Yeah,
LinkedIn's good. My email's on all the websites you can get through, Vast, Earthshifters. There's a bunch of different ways to get a hold of me, but LinkedIn's likely the best.
Awesome. All right, guys, check them out on LinkedIn. Give them a follow. And if you're thinking about communities, check out Wealthy Landscaper on School. And I'm sure you can find all that stuff on your LinkedIn profile, right, Kevin?
Absolutely. All
right. Thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thank you. And thank you for all the things you're doing in the industry, Justin. We've only known each other for a year and a half, and you are on a rocket ship, but it's fun to watch. I love what you're doing. I love listening to you speak. Pods are great. Your team's great. Excited for what you guys have got in the works for the foreseeable future as well. So cheers.
Thanks, brother. Cheers to that. Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.